Like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl on your face while you're sleeping. Everyone makes mistakes. After all, we're only human. But some mistakes are bigger than others, and the cost of these mistakes is sometimes non-refundable. From the crash of the first airship to the $1 million mustache, let's look at 10 of the most expensive mistakes in all history. Number 10. Egg fryer. The developers of the Walkie Scorchie skyscraper, aka 20 Fenchurch Street, had hoped their building would be known for its striking design and its blue-chip clients. We don't know about the clients, but the Walkie Talkie skyscraper created enough heat to fry an egg in the street. There were incredible scenes in Eastcheap, central London, when an egg was broken into a frying pan and cooked in the heat beamed down by the tower block at 20 Fenchurch Street. When the egg fried, the person actually ate it. It all started when a car's side mirrors were melted down by the sun rays reflected by the building. It cost $250 million to build the gigantic building, and the project was handed over to Raffaele Vignoli, who had worked on multiple projects in South America. The building's form gets wider and deeper as it gets taller, and, as well, has a concave shape. The designers blamed global warming for this disaster, and the owners had to spend millions on special sunshades to stop the building from frying eggs on the street.
Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and you'll get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it. It really works.
Number 9. The Hindenburg disaster. The Hindenburg disaster at Lakehurst, New Jersey in 1937 brought an end to the age of airships. The Hindenburg was the pride of Nazi Germany. The wealthy passengers who could afford to travel in it could travel from Europe to North and South America in half the time of the fastest ocean liner. And they traveled in luxurious interiors that would never again be matched in the air. They enjoyed meals in an elegant dining room, listened to an aluminum piano in a modern lounge, and slept in comfortable cabins. All that came to an end in 32 seconds because above the elegant passenger quarters were 7 million cubic feet of hydrogen gas. The Hindenburg disaster was caused by an electrostatic spark that ignited leaking hydrogen, but it didn't kill everyone on board. Anyone who has seen the graphic newsreel video of the Hindenburg plunging to earth in flames might be amazed to know that of the 97 passengers and crew on board, 62 survived. The disaster's 36 deaths included 13 passengers, 22 crew members, and 1 worker on the ground. Many survivors jumped out of the Zeppelin's windows and ran away as fast as they could. Number 8. Lake PEIGNEUR disaster. For those who have not heard of the Lake PEIGNEUR disaster, let us tell you a story. Hold tight, because what seemed like a $5 million disaster turned into a $140 million one in fees, shock, in no time. Early in the morning on November 21st, 1980, 12 men had been probing for oil under the floor of Lake PEIGNEUR when their drill suddenly seized up at about 1,230 feet below the muddy surface, and they were unable to free it. In their attempts to work the drill loose, the men heard a series of loud pops. At that time, Lake PEIGNEUR was an unremarkable body of water near New Iberia, Louisiana. Though the freshwater lake covered 1,300 acres of land, it was only 11 feet deep. Concluding that something had gone terribly wrong, the men on the rig cut the attached barges loose, scrambled off the rig, and moved to the shore about 300 yards away. Shortly after they abandoned the $5 million Texaco drilling platform, the crew watched in amazement as the huge platform disappeared into a lake that was supposed to be shallow. Number 7. The $1 million mustache. Justice League was a bad movie. In fact, the Justice League was such a bad movie that it also somehow managed to ruin Henry Cavill's extremely handsome face. The story of his infamous mustache has been one of the most hilarious Hollywood screw-ups. While he was filming Mission Impossible: Fallout, Cavill needed to go back and do reshoots for the DC blockbuster. The problem was, at the time, Cavill had a mustache for reasons that were unnecessary to the plot in Fallout. Well, instead of shaving the mustache, he ended up filming the reshoots of Justice League, and his facial hair was removed with CGI in post-production, which cost DC north of $3 million. This dude's mustache in one movie is worth more than what we're ever gonna make in our entire lives. Number 6. CERRO GRANDE fire. What do you think happens when a controlled fire gets out of control? One of America's most expensive mistakes, that's what. May 10th, 2000 was the day the wind-driven CERRO GRANDE fire roared into Los Alamos, destroying 235 homes and displacing more than 400 people. Homes were burning even 5 days later, but luckily, no one was injured in the fire. By the end of the day on May 10th, the fire had burned 18,000 acres, destroyed the whole town, and damaged many other structures. The fire also spread towards the Los Alamos National Laboratory, and although fires spotted onto the facility's lands, all major structures were secured, and no releases of radiation occurred. The CERRO GRANDE fire caused an estimated $1 billion in damage. It led to multiple investigations into what went wrong and propelled federal agencies into a deep soul-searching on how fire and land management policies should be revamped. Number 5. Ron Wayne's billion-dollar mistake. Destiny has a strange way of unfolding the mysteries of life. It is also true that our destiny is shaped by the decisions we make. But at times, we fail to fathom the future consequences of a decision made today. This describes the story of Ron Wayne, the forgotten co-founder of Apple, who missed out on a fortune. This third co-founder of Apple sold his 10% stake in the company way back in 1976 for just $800. $800! Do you know how much that stake would cost right now? Over $100 billion! It's impossible to think how much money that is, but he doesn't regret that decision. Wayne felt that Apple would be a successful venture one day, but there would be bumps in its path, and he was reluctant to deal with the risks and uncertainties, especially the financial ones. Number 4. Bitcoin mistake. Bitcoin has been making it to the front page of news for some years now. It has made many people millionaires overnight, but there are many who lost that too, even though everything was going all right. James Howells is a British IT worker who made a mistake that cost him over $100 million. In 2009, Howells began using his personal laptop to mine the cryptocurrency Bitcoin. Although his laptop eventually stopped working, he held onto the drive that contained his 7,500 Bitcoin, worth $127 million today. Then, in 2013, he mistakenly put that drive in the bin, and it was taken out to the trash. As late as 2017, Howells was still lobbying his city to allow him to search the landfill for his lost Bitcoin. Unfortunately, the drive is by now certainly buried under 6 years of waste, and according to the city, undertaking a search would cause a huge environmental impact on the surrounding area. A drive cost this man $127 million. What do you think you would do in this situation? Number 3. Stealth bomber crashed. In 2008, the B-2 stealth bomber was the most expensive plane in the Air Force arsenal. There were only 21 of the bombers made at the time. Despite the plane's tremendous cost, it could still be brought down by a simple mistake. During a test flight in Guam, a faulty sensor in a B-2 caused the plane to stall during takeoff. It immediately crashed, taking out $1.4 billion of equipment with it. Water had gotten into the sensor because a technique to deal with moisture in the engines hadn't been properly communicated to the right personnel. Luckily, the 2 pilots in the plane were able to safely eject themselves, so nobody was killed in the incident, except for years of research and $1 billion. And with that, it's now time for today's subscriber pick. Today's photo was sent to us by one of our subscribers, so if you come across a photo online and want to know more details about it, just send it on over to us. We might even feature it in a future video. Number 2. This seems to be a sinking cargo ship which is about to spill its load. There have been many ship disasters in history, and they've always been incredibly expensive because just a single cargo ship is always carrying goods worth millions. Remember the cargo ship carrying Legos that lost its load and pieces started washing up all over East Britain and Western Europe? That's a crazy story. You wonder if this ship is a real one. What do you guys think? Number 1. Chernobyl disaster. The Chernobyl disaster is the worst, most deadly nuclear accident of all time, and also the most costly mistake humans have ever made. Many people must have already heard about it from the famous HBO miniseries named after the disaster itself. If you haven't watched it, you definitely should. The human cost was huge. But what most people don't know is that the economic cost was almost as big too. It was estimated that the disaster cost around $200 to $400 billion. You might not believe it, but the figure is absolutely right. The worst part is, it occurred due to some totally preventable mistakes. On April 25th, 1986, a drill simulating a power outage at Chernobyl led to uncontrolled reactions and a steam fire that burned for 9 days. 134 workers were hospitalized due to radiation exposure, and 31 of them died in the following few weeks. 14 of them would later die from cancer, most likely caused by the radiation. The Chernobyl power plant ran on a Soviet-designed reactor that wasn't up to code for usage anywhere else in the world. Design flaws in the reactor caused the terrible incident, and irreparable damage occurred. That is our list of 10 most expensive mistakes in history. What's the most expensive mistake you've made? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.